So I want to start today with your week 6 handout. So yesterday, I taught you how to write your rough draft with references to your research and a plan for your visuals. So here's the template for that. And hopefully yesterday you got a good start on it. But if not, you get some more time today. So here are all the parts. Task 2 is what we get to do today. So once you have your rough draft done, you have to go through and complete this checklist to make sure you have all the parts you need. So the first thing, as you can see here, is first you check, does my introduction have a hook, a credibility sentence, and a clear thesis? If yes, you just check it. Now, if you notice while you're going through here that you're missing one of these things, you absolutely can go back up to the top, add it, and then check it off. That's the whole idea of a checklist. So then make sure the next part is make sure your body has at least 3 main points with at least 2 subpoints each. And after I go through this checklist, I'm going to show you an example of a completed rough draft. Next, check that your research has been referenced at least once, and then circle or highlight that in your draft. And just like I showed you yesterday, by research reference, I mean in the phrasing, you've included what the source is and what the information is from that source. So don't just write source 2 on your draft. Write out how you're going to talk about what you found in your research. Next, you go through and you either add or check that you have at least one visual to help you teach planned out. Yesterday, we talked about background visuals versus teaching visuals. So find at least one active one. If you plan to perform yours on film, your plan would be one of the PV legs being emphasized. So write in your draft where you're going to emphasize with performance for your visual to help teach. So again, make sure you circle or highlight it. And then finally for the checklist, make sure your conclusion does 2 main things. Summarizes what you taught, and then either ends with a call to action or a so what point. Once you've finished all of that, you have one last step, which is drafting prompt. So you're either going to talk about how the process for building your informative speech has gone, or you can give me feedback on what's working and what doesn't as far as learning these concepts or learning how to do these things. I'm always looking for feedback to improve the class. So let's show you what this might look like if it were on one example. So you have this example in your example folder on Schoology and also in your week 6 folder. So here I have labeled all the parts of the introduction. I'm not going to grade you down if you haven't written out hook. I can read and see what a hook is. So here I have my hook, my credibility, and my thesis. So I get the audience in with either a question or a story or a fact with the hook. For credibility, I explain either why I'm interested in this topic or how I know about this topic. So I'm trying to build with the audience that, hey, I know what I'm talking about. But you don't just come out and go, look, I know what I'm talking about. You build it like this. Then my thesis should be a clear sentence on what my speech is going to be about. So in other words, what am I going to teach in this speech? Just went through the checklist and talked about having 3 main body points and then 2 subpoints. So that looks like this. Main point, 2 subpoints. It's up to you if you choose to show your research reference like I have. I just highlighted in yellow. You could also just circle it. Same thing for your visual plan. So my visual plan for this is show visual of this statistic and explain that that means if it's 2 to 3% of adolescents, that means a school of our size of Faribault would have about, on average, 12 to 13 students with scoliosis, and then 3 to 4 teachers or staff with scoliosis. So 2 to 3% is significant. Doesn't sound like it, but it is. So here I've shown that in green. Like I said, you could also circle that and just write visual plan. So I have at least 2 references to research here. You only need 1. You can have more. I included 2 so you could see 2 different examples. So then I conclude with summary, and then I went with a so what point. So this is telling the audience why they should care. You can also go with a call to action, telling them what they should do for the info. And then this last part, thank you for listening, that's optional. Some speakers like that because it feels less awkward for them to end on that and then go rather than on their so what or their call to action point. Personal preference entirely. So that's what the example looks like. Let's show you one last time here before I give you time to do these things. So reminder, here's your Unit 2 schedule. So this week, as you know, writing the rough draft, labeling it. Next week is spring break. The week after is that 1-day week. So you are going to be writing your final draft and doing practice prompts with that. Week 8 is the week that we are back in class 4 days a week. You are going to be performing your informative speech to start off that week. Then we'll move on to reflection and starting Unit 3. Keep in mind that week 8 is the last week to submit the majority of the late work for this class from weeks 1 through 7, because week 9, the following week, is when the quarter ends. So you folks at this time have the rest of the time to work on your rough draft and or get in any missing work. If you have questions, message me or come on in the meet. Go for it.